Hi, Don. How you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
So, can you tell me a little bit about this collection and how you obtained it?
Okay. The collection that I have transferred basically includes a lot of material that I had inherited from my stepmother. I think the best way to start is the picture of the lady over my left shoulder. I think you can see it there. Is a picture that we have inherited, and it is of Alice Sells. She was born in 1870 and died in 1890 during childbirth. Although she died during childbirth, the child survived, and that child was named Hester. And she was the mother of my stepmother, Hester Moyer, who is the person who gave me the collection here that includes a lot of material about the Sells brothers. I knew from my stepmother, Hester, that she had a connection to the Sells brothers family and to the circus. And she often used to talk about it. And I thought, well, I'll look into it, see what's available, and then try to find a good home for the various pieces of it.
Can you actually tell me a little bit about what you sent to us?
What I sent was several boxes of material. It includes some photo albums. One photo album was of the Sells brothers. There are a bunch of loose photographs in there as well. And the material that I think was of most interest to this discussion included material that was related to the Sells brothers circus trip in 1891 and through 92 to Australia. And that material included a route book. It included material that was in the form of a diary. There were 3 diaries. And that is the material I think that is most significant because these are firsthand descriptions of what it was like leaving Columbus, Ohio in the middle of the afternoon on a train that took everyone out to California. They caught a steamer, and then the steamship went all the way down to Australia, and I believe it carried, the whole family and all of the circus troupe too.
So, Don, what would you like to get out of this collection? What else would you like to know about the collection?
What I'm looking forward to is to seeing the material that I have in a larger context of the whole Sells brothers operation and get a better understanding of what it must have been like to organize a circus and then take it all the way across the country, including the animals. To me, it's just amazing to think about how much fortitude they had to be able to do all of this more than 130 years ago.
That'd be great. We're going to do more research on it, and then we'll fill you in on what we find.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Wow, Aaron, this is a cool donation. What do you have here?
This is a Sells family collection that Don Snyder donated to us. The first thing that he donated to us were the Sells brothers route book that was taken in Australia in 1891 and 1892. The thing I love about the actual route book that they produced is it has a mini schedule at the very beginning. There's this first thing that I opened up is I noticed that there was an insert, Australian tour, and it tells you what city they were in and how long they were there.
That's amazing.
Which is really cool. And then as I started leafing through it, I realized that not only was there information about how each of their shows went and how their travel was, but also information about all the performers that were in the circus. So your acrobats, your clowns, your daredevils. Spread throughout the book, there are advertisements about the different acts that were a part of that particular season.
Yeah. So what would it have been like to travel from Columbus, Ohio with the circus to Australia?
Yeah, so the other interesting thing that we got that Don sent to us first was this diary that Nellie Thorpe wrote.
Okay.
And Nellie Thorpe was...
That name sounds familiar.
Nellie Siebert Thorpe. This is her when she's probably in her 20s. Nellie Thorpe was married to a man named Henry Thorpe, who was the secretary and treasurer of the Sells Brothers Circus. They left September 3rd, 1891, and they get New South Wales on November 19th, 1891. So, yeah, 2 months. Wow. 2 months to get there through train and boat. So, what's interesting about these is they start in the United States. And the most interesting parts are the trips into California, actually. When they're in California, she mentions visiting San Francisco, and one of the strange things is that one of the tour guides takes her through the mean streets of San Francisco in the 1890s, and they end up in an opium den, and she describes this opium den in great detail.
Wow.
About the smell, and it's really interesting to hear this kind of socialite from Columbus go into the mean streets of San Francisco and describe her experiences there. The other cool things that I find interesting are when she's on the ship, she talks about rough sea, she's talking about landing at different ports and islands. She talks about landing in Hawaii and meeting the Queen at the time. You can imagine shipping a gigantic circus across the country. It's quite expensive, so just hearing about the animals on the ship and how rough it was for them and how sick they got as well.
So Aaron, can you tell us more about the tour? How many stops did they do in Australia?
They stopped at about 50 different locations, and
Wow.
every time they had to pull up stakes and reset up. A lot of the diaries talk about that, as how much is involved in that. So a lot of it is talking about how some of these used to be big towns, and when they get there, they're old mining towns that are empty now. So the showing's not great because it used to be 25,000 people, now there's only 3,000 people in the town. So the interesting thing too about these diaries is that they're very matter of fact. So I give you an instance where she's just talking about, she's window shopping in Sydney, but she's also talking about, one of the horses got frightened when the elephants passed by, and one of them literally dropped dead of fright. And it just acts like it's a normal thing that elephants are like a part of your everyday life, and that horses are dropping dead, and rattlesnakes are biting the tall men in the desert, and it's very strange, this dichotomy between normal life and then the circus life, and she just acts like it's a normal thing. Yeah, I also found it interesting, and they decided to go to Australia when it's the hottest part of the year. So our winter being their summer, so they're there in November and December, and she always talks about it's so hot, it's so dry. It seems like there's always a heat wave that they're dealing with. You can definitely tell this person has money, they're from the upper class, but it doesn't sound like a particularly easy trip.
What's the photo album up here? Are these pictures of the actual performers?
Yes, so I think this is Don's side of the family, the Moyers, but I think there's some acrobats in his family as well. So I saw here there's acrobats. And then this is mainly the Sells Brothers family here, and most of these people are Columbus residents.
So these are really family photo albums that also capture the business that the family was in.
Yeah.
The photos really bring the diary to life, and even vice versa, really.
The great thing about this collection is we can use the route book, the information that's provided in here, we can use it in tandem with these photographs and identify who these people are.
Which is so cool because it's unusual to be able to have this number of photographs all together, but then be able to have a way to try to identify them.
Just a great collection of things that are sort of cross-referenced from one another.
Wow, Aaron, this is so cool that this came to the Columbus Metropolitan Library and will be part of the collection. How will people be able to see this?
So what we'll be doing is scanning it and doing research on it to get it available online. It'll be on our My History website, which is columbuslibrary.org/myhistory, where we have over 1 million items already, and we'll keep adding to it. Sells Brothers is an important part of our history, so we'll keep adding to that Sells Brothers history with these new photographs.
It always amazes me the things that people have in their homes and their attics and their basements, and eventually they will donate to the library. And I just love that we're able to bring all this together and make it available for people to see here at the library.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the interesting part about this is just when you think all the old stuff is, already been donated or given or destroyed in some cases, that, you still find photo albums with tintypes in them from 150 years ago.
Well, thank you for sharing this, Aaron. Thank you for saving it and getting it all digitized and saving this story for Columbus.
Thank you.